Hey, how's it going, Jay?
What's up, dude?
Not much.
Um, ordering a 50-foot Cat 6 wire so my internet doesn't freeze in the middle of these Zoom meetings.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I got.
I watched our previous podcasts and so many things like I hate about myself, like when you rewatch it.
Oh, yeah.
I would say like in terms of podcasting, I hate how I say like so much. I talk too fast. I don't let people speak. We talk about too many topics at once. Like we should really, we should really focus on like one topic and really dive into it,
Right.
Oh, here's Corey. Corey!
Hey, what's up, Corey?
What's going on, gentlemen?
We were just going over all the things I hate about myself after reviewing our first two podcasts.
Oh my God.
It's good though.
It's good. Yeah. Well, I got a delivery coming. I'll be right back.
But here's the upside. I'm like with this whole pandemic going on, like so few things excite me, right? There's like, like with work, like I was making a bunch of money, like, it's so easy to make transactions now. No one wants to do anything. So it's kind of like depleting, but a podcast gets me excited. Like, even if this isn't the podcast, I don't care because what I really want is to just practice, get really good. And like, I'm looking at it in terms of like 1, 2, 3 years where I would be if I just committed myself to it, like what would be possible. Right.
Yeah.
And what's really cool about this podcast is it kind of just happened, like we're just like, hey, we're waiting for Ron.
Wait for Ron. Start talking.
And so like, it'd be cool to see like the evolution of improvement. Right.
Oh, yeah.
So from that first podcast where I'm just like, not letting anyone speak, just waiting for my turn to talk, like rather than really engaging, that'd be really neat.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, I think it's cool that we only talk on the podcast. So we just pick up where we left off and so other people can too. Right. So if we just talk like, every day, every other day, every once a week, whatever, people would be up to speed on like our conversation, which is neat. And I'm not gonna like market this thing or anything, but it would be cool to have a body of work and figure out all the nuances of like how to improve, right? Oh, and
because over time it'll just keep stacking on itself.
Dude, 100%. And I mean, I'm being 34, I've dove into so many different skill sets and whatnot, and like I know how to get good at something. It's just do it.
Just do it consistently.
Be terrible at it as early as possible. Fail early. First to fail is first to succeed, and then you get good at it.
Definitely. No, I'm excited for it. I've always like had that, podcast spirit in mind, and then just never really acted on it for whatever reason. And
right. I mean,
now this just kind of happened so naturally. I'm like, it's good topics, sure. And
and I did my 2 morning run in yoga this morning, and I did 20 minutes of meditation. I saw Ray Dalio said he meditates 20 minutes a day, like either twice, one time, and occasionally he doesn't, but he does 20 minutes of transcendental meditation where this is a really great topic because he says that is the number one thing that he can give to anyone for their own success.
Yeah, I saw that video.
And like I think a lot of people don't realize about meditation is what you're really trying to do is, focus on your breathing, of course. But what you're doing is you're really letting your higher self analyze your lower self. So you're being still, waiting for something to surface, like a feeling or a direction in your life, like whatever it may be. You analyze it and objectify it. So like I had like anger pop up from like a competitor. Pops up and I'm like, whoa, that's anger. Then you come back to base. And as you practice that, it's a skill that you can like hone in. So throughout the day, when you feel it, you go like, you can stop yourself and be like, how can I make a better decision and not let this affect me? Sam Harris talks about this all the time. And he's obviously his own.
Oh, the waking up guy, Sam Harris.
Yeah. I don't really like his podcast. He's like very, very boring, but he's a genius, right? And he thinks we live in a simulation. And he's on Joe Rogan all the time.
Yeah. It definitely has a powerful effect. I did 10 minutes of meditation today, and even just that, is enough to kind of give me a little jolt of just feels refreshing afterwards.
Dude, I have religious experiences in my backyard because I'll put in my AirPods, I'll put on some like meditation music, and I'll like lay there like on a yoga mat, just looking up at the trees in my backyard with like the wind blowing and like a cat will jump over me or something. You know, dude, it's magical, and like I look forward to it every day. You know,
Yeah, I wish I had some grass to lay on.
Yeah, it helps.
Meditation.
It definitely helps. Corey, we were just talking about meditation.
Yeah, no, I was listening to Ray about that, and that seems to be like this common theme with like all these high level people, that they like really step back, and it helps them like look from just a completely different perspective and do exactly what you were talking about, where you basically remove a lot of the emotions from, you know, your decision making, and kind of just put your ego in check and things like that. So yeah, it seems to be the way to go. So yeah, I want to look into that type of meditation that he does and kind of figure out, okay, how do you get into
I
this?
just Googled it real quick. So it's transcendental meditation is the whole idea, like to repeat this mantra while you're
Okay.
meditating.
I wonder what his mantra is.
I know exactly what it is. Hold on.
Oh, excellent.
I'm about to pull up something on, here it is.
Yeah, this one actually says, don't think about your breathing. You just repeat the mantra in your head. And
Hold on. Let me see. I'll find this. Oh, you literally can't hear it. Damn. Okay. For those listeners out there, check out this podcast about meditation with Joe Rogan. I'm talking to Sam Harris and Dan Harris, because they asked Joe Rogan, they said, hey, Joe, how do you meditate? And he's like, oh, just focus on my breathing. You know, I love to go on a float tank. Float tanks, amazing, by the way. If you want one, talk to Cryo Next. We have an alternative solution for you, very easy. But Joe doesn't really understand like the concept behind meditation, what all these like CEOs are getting out of it. And Sam Harris dives into it. And for those of you who don't know, it's Sam Harris. Sam Harris is like a world-renowned neuroscientist. That's like, he's a stone genius. But basically what I was saying before is, you wait for your body to surface something and then you objectify it, right? So rather than just letting the emotion take over, you say, hey, what is that? That's competition. Oh, that's interesting. And you kind of like look at it like, why did that pop up? Dude, I just did in my backyard right now. Oh my gosh. I feel like I'm so centered today from doing this for 20 minutes.
Right.
Man.
Awesome. So you like take yourself out. You're like a third party, you know, neutral, just telling it how it is.
I also heard something one time, I can't remember where I heard this, but say that you're meditating and you feel an itch, right? And then rather than going to itch it like I just did, you would notice the idea behind it is to not itch. It's an opportunity. Because what you'll realize is that if you just wait long enough, the itch goes away and it was all in your head. And it's a skill that you can actually work out like a muscle. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I did that. Yesterday I felt an itch during my meditation, and I just like waited a little bit, like noticed it, kind of like fought through the pain, and then noticed it some more, and then it just kind of went away. Focused on the breathing.
Corey, have you ever done this before?
Meditation, not so much. No.
You know,
but need to get into it.
Like imagine it's 20 minutes a day when you wake up, part of your morning routine. I know like Jack Dorsey talks about this, a lot of top CEOs do it. Why not just try it? You know?
Oh yeah, no, I'm gonna look into the one that Ray Dalio does.
It's all the same thing. It's all transcendental meditation is exactly what they're talking about. You just remove yourself and like look down. Try it for 30 days and just see what happens to your life. See what happens to your daily thinking. I keep going back and forth between like letting my primal state take over my powerful state, and I feel it, and I'm like, and it's this constant struggle, you know. And I'm wondering if people like Ray Dalio, Sam Harris, if on a daily basis they're just like, whoosh, just painting it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I bet they have it down. You know, I imagine people like The Rock, who's gotten up at 4 a.m. every day for 20 years and worked out for 2 hours. You know what I mean? The guy is just a stone machine. I mean, I got to imagine that he has his lower self tamed so well that he just make himself do whatever he wants, you know?
Mm-hmm.
The superpower.
Also, what'd you guys eat today?
I have not ate lunch yet. I'm going to eat lunch right after this call.
Hey, guys.
Hey, what's
hey,
up,
we have our first guest ever on the Waiting for Ron podcast.
Welcome to the show.
Rhami, why don't you tell us a little about yourself?
How are you guys?
Good.
Doing well.
Yeah. Well, is Ron coming?
He is not going to make it today.
I'm not going to make it. No.
Okay. No worries.
But Rhami, I'd love to learn more about you anyway. You might tell us a little about yourself? Just, I mean, hopefully we'll be working a lot together in the future.
Yeah, for sure. I forgot you weren't on our other call there. So I grew up in Canada. I have 10 years experience as a web developer and UX designer. And a few years ago, I started freelancing. So before that, I was working for places like IBM, Government of Canada, things like that. And yeah, I've been doing my own thing for the past almost 3.5 years now. And yeah, I've been loving it.
What made you leave IBM?
Good question. So I got a really good opportunity with the government, a lucrative contract there. So I started working there. Yeah, and then I guess the rest is history. I like long walks on the beach and Atlantic dinners.
Rhami, this is kind of random. This is the only question I'm going to ask you before we dive into our web stuff. But do you meditate?
I do, yeah.
Yeah. How often do you meditate, and what do you do when you meditate?
So I have my my phases. Like right now, I was leading a 21-day challenge actually. So basically the past 3 weeks. Usually I like to just meditate in silence. But the past few weeks is like a Deepak Chopra meditation challenge. I don't know if you guys have heard of that one. So every day he gives you like a new task, like, oh, today we're going to focus on being grateful, or today we're going to focus on living a more carefree life, or, things like that. So there's a task for every day. You journal and you kind of write down your thoughts, and he'll ask you like probing questions. And then at the end, he'll do like a guided meditation with you.
Cool.
Yeah. What about you? Are you into it?
I love it.
Yeah.
Awesome. I've been watching a lot of stuff about objectifying the feelings that surface. So like, say you're meditating, you're focusing on your breathing, and you feel like some anger for someone pop up, or guilt or something like that, and it surfaces, and rather than like letting it take you over, you say, hey, look, you almost look at it like it's an animal, like, hey, that's a snake.
Yeah.
And it kind of, so throughout the day, it's a skill that you can hone. But yeah, we're trying to get all of us on board with that, because this guy Ray Dalio, he's like one of the most successful.
Yeah.
Dude, he says it's the number one thing that you could do for success in your life. So I really want everyone around me to just start like diving into it, and like we can have a conversation about it.
Yeah, I think it's a great thing to do.
Yeah.
It can't hurt.
Yep, that's exactly right. So everyone must give that a try. We'll end it here. We'll dive into our web design stuff. That's cool.
Yeah, sure. Let me ask you guys a question though. So on top of like all this web design and stuff, like my main passion is to help people, and that can take, so many forms. But like right now, obviously we're in like this crisis, and I've been trying to think of the best way that I can help people, like given my skill set, because I think I'm very well suited for that. Have you guys thought of anything like that? Like I like to bounce around, because I know like the power of, a team can be helpful. I don't know if you guys have given that any thought.
I think about it every day, my friend.
Yeah.
And like what I've noticed is like my motivation and excitement level since the pandemic I'm usually a very motivated person as is, and this kind of like made it nosedive, the pandemic. But talking about inspirational stuff and self-improvement not only helps other people, but it helps me. Right. And so when we started talking about this on our two days ago while we were waiting for Ron, I was like, I got so passionate about it. I'm like, where's it coming from? Is this like, oh my gosh, I still have a lot of things to work on in terms of like podcasting and speaking, but that'll come. Right. But yeah, so like, that's kind of like what we were just tackling on the fly, being very transparent about it. Yeah. I mean, I kind of like, this podcast was kind of a way to do it. And we were going to bring people on, talk to them about things that they do for self-improvement, right? How they're staying focused while we wait for Ron, which is, I just think it's hilarious that,
it is.
I don't know, for some reason, it just catches my attention that we're just waiting for this businessman that's so busy doing all these awesome things. We're like a marketing team who's just like having a conversation. Like, what happens when you leave the marketing team alone for too long? You know what I mean?
So are you actually going to do this?
Yeah, we got the websites up, YouTube channels up.
Go to Wait for Ron podcast on YouTube, bro. You're going to be on it next week.
I feel like you're joking, but
you can go look up the first 2 episodes right now.
Are you serious?
Look, the idea isn't to be famous with this podcast. It's really for practice, right? Because the idea is to show the long-term like evolution of, hey, if people just randomly start a podcast, how long would it take them to get good at it? You know,
Okay.
you'll see my equipment's gonna get better. You know what I mean? As we go
Time to
on,
get the legit mic set up.
sure,
Yeah.
S7B like Joe Rogan. We'll have fun with
Cool.
it.
Cool. Let me know if you need any advice. I had a podcast a few years ago, actually.
Dude, for sure.
Yeah.
Let's start throwing it out here.
Yes, it was like our process was really simple. Like we recorded on Audacity. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's a really simple program. Like you can record voices and then edit the sound as well. Are you guys doing a video or voice only?
We're just doing like a YouTube channel and posting.
Yeah, I guess it'll be both. Kind of like Joe Rogan, you know.
We'll make it better as we go.
Okay. Yeah, then I guess Audacity wouldn't be for you because you got to record the video. What are you guys using to record?
Zoom right now.
Just right now on Zoom.
Yeah, man.
Okay. Oh, I thought you were joking this whole time.
No, it's just started on what, Tuesday, Monday?
The best way to do something is to just fail. Just fail.
Yeah,
dive into it. Fail first succeed.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I'm also doing this 21-day workout challenge for some of my friends, and yeah, I've been started recording videos, started editing. Did you see it?
What kind of workouts are you doing?
So it's a lot of body weight stuff. It's not like, it's meant mainly to kind of keep your muscle while you're at home because most people don't have weights or anything like that. So they're like, I found some really good ones where, you know, you don't have to lose any gains or anything while you're at home.
How can we follow you?
Yeah, I can add you to a WhatsApp group if you want.
The website?
So we have a WhatsApp group.
Oh, WhatsApp. Yeah, what's the WhatsApp?
Let me grab your phone numbers because I'll need to add you after this.
Yeah, I'm in the chat here.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll add you guys. So we're gonna be day 3 today, but I'll send you the backlinks.
Today's my day to be also.
Oh, nice.
Worked out 3 days in a row this week.
Nice, me too.
Yeah.
I'm just running and doing yoga, but God, it helps me so much.
Yeah, that's awesome too. Yeah.
Finally using the Peloton over here.
Oh, cool.
Nice.
Hey.
All right, cool guys. So I guess let's get started. I have a bunch of questions for you guys. So
Wonder who this guy's talking to over here. So,
all right.
What were you guys chatting about before I was getting a delivery. I was getting my Chick-fil-A.
Just
the meditation.
And then before that, you're just kind of going over some notes that he's took from watching the previous 2 recordings. And
oh yeah, what was he hating about himself? I watched it. I thought it was fine.
I didn't get a chance to watch it yet, but saying he talks too fast. He says like a lot. doesn't like that. Doesn't like that he talks too much.
I don't think there's anything wrong with the amount that Jay speaks. It's all like pretty relative content. It's like this is legit energy, stuff. It's good. Yeah, it keeps it flowing, keeps you interested, keeps you engaged. I'm totally for this. We'll have. I can imagine who the next few guests are going to be, or the people we would start adding to the call. We have one of our friends. He works for Northwestern Mutual. He's been doing it for a long time. He's an interesting character, for sure. Very smart guy, but I feel like he has a lot of blind spots.
Well, Ray Dalio blind spots? Don't we all?
Yeah, and I would say his ego probably could get in the way of quite a bit of things, but he's figuring out how to like tone that back a little bit, but still, like I think if he really just worked on those 2 major things, that could be life-changing for him. So
I got Ray Dalio's book Principles. I'm excited to read it.
Mm-hmm. The app, get the app too.
Yeah.
Oh, yep. Dude, super legit.
Yeah, I was really impressed by it. Like it's completely free, and like you just find a quote that you like, you tap on it, and it opens up the entire section of the book.
Yeah, it's legit.
I was like,
really shows when you spend a lot of money on your app how good and nice it can be, how simple and flowing. I love his voice. Like it's so easy to listen to. I like the pace at which he explains things. Justin, did you watch? There's like a 30-minute thing about like the 8 major principles that he talks about on YouTube.
The animation one about the
Yeah,
economy? Yeah, I watched that one.
No,
there's the economy, and then there's one that it's just like that, but for principles.
Okay, no, I gotta watch that.
dude, watch that for sure.
That one is dope, dude. It's that for me. That's like the best medium for me learning. It's this nice, easy pace. There's animation. There's a little bit of music. There's storytelling involved, so it's easy to
I'll
say,
look at
"Oh
that.
yeah, that's just like that."
First thing that was recommended to me.
Yeah,
It's like
scary. A little
right
scary.
there. You guys are
Yep.
talking about it. It's recommended.
Yep, this ultra mini series, and then it'll make sense when you go into the app. Like, oh yeah, that's what he was talking about. It very nicely breaks it down. So easy to digest.
Well,
How did you guys bring up Gray?
Oh, I was just saying, I can imagine some of the people that we would start inviting to the Waiting for Ron.
Yeah.
Gray, Derek.
You're right. You're right about Gray. In terms of like ego and blind spot, and it's easy for us to see that, right?
Sure.
But it's not easy for him to see it. Just like it's hard for us to see our own ego and our own blind spot, which is why we should really talk to each other about this and have like some things in place where like we know we're going to disagree on stuff and like how we go about it. Like how Ray Dalio talks about it. Dude, it's going to help so much.
Really creating that arena of this is when we come to a disagreement. This arena is created. Here are the rules. Here are the criteria in which things are going to be judged by. Yeah. That way, nobody's feelings are going to get hurt because he comes. It's very simple how he explains it. If we are both disagreeing, one of us is right.
Yeah.
More likely. So if one of us is wrong, we need to figure out why we were wrong. How do we come to that conclusion?
Yeah. Just procedures.
Great.
Yep.
I like that you brought up Gray because I feel like him specifically, it's so easy for me to see his ego and blind spots and how he's unaware of them. So it makes me think about my own, and it makes me think like, oh man, I'm definitely like this in some other way that I just haven't quite, and I struggle with it every day, like trying to see it and trying to like tackle it. You know what I mean? Because a good example is like, I knew, like we tried to bring Gray on to do sales for Crowd Next, right? But I knew that it wasn't going to happen because I knew that he wouldn't be able to take the ego blow of switching out of Northwestern Mutual. I knew that he wouldn't be able to do it, even though I knew it would be so much better for him in every regard, short-term, long-term. But I knew that for some reason his ego wouldn't let him do it.
Correct. It's interesting. We have an interesting, dynamic with our group of friends, Justin. And I would say, I don't know if this is going to sound egotistical, but I feel like I'm the one who has my ego in check the most. I'm able to remove it the most from situations.
Meanwhile, I won biggest ego at Boone High School, largest high school in the state. Clearly, there's probably some blind spots there. The craziest part is I thought about that the other day. I'm like, oh my God, I won biggest ego at Boone High School.
That's hilarious. Yeah. Justin, anybody in your, close group of friends or kind of business acquaintances or partners that you would think would be like, hey, if we threw this person into this chat, it would be fun or add value?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I guess the first guy that came on my mind is my friend Sky Nelson. He's like he does quantum physics and at like, I can't remember, San Diego or California schools. I have a weekly call with him because we're working on like an app to help people with synchronicity, kind of like tracking your daily rituals and like kind of helping you like figure out why you made certain choices and how it's kind of like mapping out your life.
Very cool.
He's got some interesting things in that work. He follows Carl Jung a lot with the shadow personalities and
integrating your shadow self, man. Tell you what, deep stuff. Deep stuff.
Shadow.
I think that Gray could really benefit a lot from watching Carl Jung because I think Gray is so scared to integrate his shadow self into his life. Like he doesn't think that he's like capable of like, in any circumstance that he could do something, like if he was starving, and his family needed to eat and they were dying, like he would kill somebody to get their food. Like, I don't think he's tapped into that quite yet. But yeah, I think he needs to integrate it into his life more.
What's the kind of general concept of the shadow self thing?
He's too nice. Jordan Peterson talks about it a lot. It's about, think of it like a sheathed sword, right?
Mm-hmm.
Knowing that what you're capable of and choosing not to use it, right? And I don't really understand. I don't know how exactly you experience it throughout your life. I think it can come from multiple different ways. I think I've experienced it from like probably some of my lowest points that I've like gained like, oh my God, what am I capable of? That's insane. You know what I mean? And then knowing consciously, I don't need to do it, but I need to let people know like I'm capable of just like unleashing it, you know? But choosing not to use it. Yeah, it's important. It's good for balance. Like that's actually what Jordan Peterson talks about when someone is holy. What they're really saying is like they're complete, they're whole in the sense that they've actually hit bottom, seen their shadow self come out the other side, and now it's something that they've integrated into their life, so they know that place inside of them, and actually motivates them to lean towards the light, if that makes sense.
Got it.
Yeah, I always kind of just imagine like the dark side versus the light side, you know, Star Wars.
Got it.
Exactly right.
Got both in you. It just depends on how you, you know, which
side you unleash more.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what other kind of guests, I guess, are we like looking to have on this podcast? Like,
I love
wide
that
range, or
I love how we're having it. I love how it's happening so organically. You know what I mean? Like I don't want it to feel too forced. Like, oh, we just reached out and got this person to come on while we wait for Ron. You know what I mean? I like that we can just make meetings and whatever. And even if we don't have a meeting with Ron, we should do it once a week.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. It's like it doesn't matter if we're waiting for Ron or not.
Yeah.
That's just where the idea came from, and
yeah, that's a good idea.
You know, we just call it waiting for Ron. It's just it's fun.
Yeah, because I could think of like, you know, business people. I could think of like science of consciousness people, or spirituality, the emotional intelligence experts. There's a lot of cool people out there, I think, that would have some interesting conversations with.
Very cool. Excellent. What you got going on this weekend, Jay?
Is today Friday?
It is Friday.
I'm going to
Went by fast.
I'm going to call 45 people after we hang up right here.
Okay.
And I might go over to Katie's family. She went over there earlier today. Her mom's house is like a vacation spot, dude. It's so nice. There's so much like love in the house. It's like 5 bedrooms. There's a pool, a dog, a backyard.
Oh, wow.
So it's literally, it's on by the beach. So like I literally just roll over there. I'm like, I'm staying over the weekend. They feed, and you wake up and it's just like bacon, like all this. I'm like, on my face. No, it's seriously just like amazing over there. So I go over there all the time. She's like, and then like she has her sister and her boyfriend and her brother there. There's just always a party at night somehow. Like people playing board games. And at the end of the day, you're like lounging by the pool and reading in hammocks, dude. It's a straight up town vacation.
It's like the most fun quarantine situation there.
Yeah, no,
sounds great.
And like me and Katie just cooped up in the house. It's like, oh my God, she goes nuts. You know what I mean? Just like sitting here. She just looks for the things to keep herself entertained. Because she's also like a middle child in a big house, you know what I mean? With people always over there, like all the time, extended family. So she needs like interaction. And if I'm not working all day, she just goes stir crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I watched our 2 podcasts with her before, and she was like critiquing me and like telling me how to improve. And she's like, I'm gonna walk in. She's like, I'm gonna walk in and give you like a coffee, and I'll be wearing something sexy. And that's that. She's like, not say anything, you know. It's like I'm like, thanks. You know what I mean? Just like, fine.
That'll make things interesting.
Yeah, that's got to be the thumbnail, of course.
Yeah.
Get those clicks, that clickbait, baby.
Clickbait.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. We should do that for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Have you guys like sat and like watched through like one of the entire podcasts?
I watched both of them.
Yeah. What'd you think? Corey, I was talking to Justin about this. I apologize. Oh my God. First of all, I don't let anyone speak. I just wait for my turn to talk. But that's
we were just talking about this while you were on the phone call. It's great energy. It's exciting. It's captivating. It keeps you going. It keeps you wanting to listen and more. It's great content. It's not like you're filling it with just nonsense and fluff. It's really driving it. So I don't think that's an issue at all.
I mean, the only thing that I have going for me though is like my passion talking about these subjects.
That's all you need sometimes.
It's that helps, but I should slow down. I should let you guys talk way more, and we should talk about fewer topics in terms of like when we bring up a topic, we need to dive into it so we can have like a segment.
Yeah.
Sure.
I'm just like,
Do like a deep dive.
Speaking of neurotropics, I'm sorry to do this to you guys again, but have you guys seen these things?
What's that?
It's called a neuromint. It was on Shark Tank. It's a mint you put under your tongue. It's just natural caffeine, L-theanine, and B vitamins. But dude, it's like a small like half cup of coffee that gives you like good clean energy.
Really?
It was on Shark Tank last week. I just ordered some on Amazon. But the guys, they're like kind of wheelchair that ran like that did like a marathon. He does marathons all the time, and this other guy does like Brazilian jiu-jitsu marathons, and they just have so much energy. And I was like, okay, these people are doing something right. So I just tried it. Dude, they're nice. It's like a little mint.
You like a noticeable difference?
Yeah, a little sustained energy. Nothing crazy, but you get that little pep that you need for like a little focus rather than taking like an Adderall or something, you know?
Yeah.
All natural L-theanine, B vitamin, little caffeine shot, you know what I mean?
I'll look at it right now.
Like a little 6-pack of
Very nice.
Yeah.
It's called Neuromint.
Like a neuro mint.
Yeah, I think for the going back to the topics thing, yeah, having one topic, you really just want to niche down and just try to focus on one topic at a time. So maybe we should.
No, rather than one topic, I think like one talk should be kind of like how Joe Rogan has a conversation. It kind of evolves like naturally, when
Sure. This is like the outline, like not exactly one specific topic, but one guideline, like let's, one specific kind of thing. And there's a bunch of subsets within that should emerge organically.
The way that Joe Rogan does it is he like brings on a person, right? Then he engages with them. As again, he keeps the conversation going, and if it gets stale, he naturally segues, and it's interesting. That's going to be tough for us to do unless we just it'd be cool though if all three of us could try to find interesting people to bring on, maybe like business people or mindset people, whatever you guys are talking about. I don't think anyone would do it, but we could start with our friends and just practice, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Who would be sort of open to something like this? I bet we could find a bunch of people in 7-figure agency.
Oh yeah.
How cool would it be to have, I think it'd be super cool if we could get Josh involved. Yeah. He would definitely do it with us. He's dope,
20 minutes, just like 30-minute conversation. Ask him about his daily routine, his habits. Oh, God.
Yeah. He'd be a great guest.
Corey, I got to bring this up. We actually should have an entire podcast about it. This book.
Funny enough is when Shauna first started working for Bob, the billionaire who does all the real estate in Chicago, one of the first things he had her do was order like 20 copies of that book and give them out to like these people in the company and stuff. And he's big into that. So I have seen this book many a time.
I read it in a day. Let me tell you why I bring it up now. I read it 4.5 months ago. Marshall Goldsmith, he has a PhD in behavioral psychology. How to create change in yourself that lasts, right? Because the most difficult thing for us to do is to actually rebuild those neural pathways in our brain where you can actually change for the long term. Because anyone has like a excitement to do something in the short term, like make changes in their habits. But to create lasting habits that change is everything. He brings up another book that I read called The Power of Habit. They bring it up. They basically explain to you that 40% of your decisions that you make on a daily basis are actually just your habits, right? It's not you're not even consciously doing it. They dive in, read the book to figure out how they figured that out recently in the last 50 years. But you're not consciously making these decisions. It's your habits that you have to develop. And he brings up a point about doing an accountability checklist. That's like what the whole book's about, an accountability checklist. My checklist is insane. It's like 80 checks long. I have it in a Google sheet that I keep tweaking it every day. But how it works is I just started doing it because I'm like, okay, I'm just going to trust this goddamn PhD. I don't care what my preconceived notions are about it. What ended up happening was I would do this checklist at the end of the day. He actually has someone call him on the phone and he answers questions, and he pays somebody to call him, and so he keeps him accountable. Maybe I'll do that at some point if I'm super loaded. But
pay somebody to call you to
check somebody. Yeah, so they asked him, did you do this today? How did you? I mean, I'll pull up my checklist. It's crazy. But basically, how it works, they don't really explain it in the book like this, but this is how it works for me. Is I'll go through my checklist at the end of the day. Like, was I in the moment? And, all these, crazy things. I'll show you my checklist in a second. The next day, what ends up happening is a really good one for me is like, did I avoid destructive comments? Like, because I always talk shit about Joel, because he's just.
You haven't been doing it much lately.
I almost just did it. God bless Joel. He's on his own journey. That's all I'll say. But as I'm about to say something like that, I'll realize, oh God, if I say this, I won't be able to check off that checklist at the end of the day. So there's like an insert period where it's like, it dives in there, and I'm like, oh, and it stops me from doing it, stops the pathway, stops the behavior. Then over time, as I do that consistently every day, I realize I stopped doing it completely. It seems so simple, but having like a daily checklist at the end of the day, but that's how it works, right?
Okay, so I like that.
This is actually kind of really personal, like diving into all this stuff. Maybe I'll have to like tailor this, but
it makes me think of another book called, have you heard of Willpower Doesn't Work?
No, what's that?
Yeah, it's really cool. It just kind of talks about, I guess the main thing that I got from it was, willpower doesn't work. I can't remember why, but instead of like relying on willpower, you should like kind of hack your environment to make it as easy as possible, least path of least resistance. If you want to work out every morning,
You're 100% right. That's actually what he talks about in this book, about it's all about your environment. You actually need to treat your environment like it's the stone enemy, right? Because if you put yourself in an environment where it's like easy for you to just play a video game, guess what you're going to do? Play a video game. If you have junk food in your house, guess what? You're going to eat the junk food.
Yeah.
We were talking about that, about education, in the last podcast, the previous podcast, right? When you put yourself in that environment, then you're just going to succeed. We are in a symbiosis with our environment, and you really need to look at it like it's an enemy, like it's a person. And you need to it's crazy to think about it that way, but he's right. A good example as well is the gym. Like, how hard is it to like work out by yourself at home? But like, and I noticed this recently because I started doing like group classes at Crunch Fitness. I'll go to Crunch Fitness by myself. I barely do anything. I work at home. Like, I do 2 miles in yoga. But when I went to Crunch before the pandemic, I would 9 a.m. Me and Justin Blair would go to
Dang it.
Another cliffhanger, man.
Another cliffhanger, and he's got the finger and everything. So. Let's see, I'll probably hop back in here. What was the book you're is it by Benjamin Hardy?
Benjamin Hardy, yeah.
The Willpower Doesn't Work? Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Am I back? Can you guys hear me?
Okay, you're back.
Cool.
You were saying you and Justin go to Crunch Fitness, and you do the classes, and
Willpower doesn't work.
Yeah. Cool. It's probably like the same thing as this book, dude. This Triggers book, literally, I think it changed my life because I'm still thinking about it 4.5 months later. About my daily habits and my environment, and that checklist is really life changing. And I started off just writing things on my notepad on my phone. I actually had it written down, but I ended up adding so many different things, and I actually wanted to have the data to look at so it would add up, so I would see like my weak spots. So like at the end of the month, I would like look at where I would fail the most, and then that's where I would work on the most for the next month.
You have a spreadsheet?
I have a spreadsheet. I have very good.
Yeah, I want to see that because I need to do that because like I have a bunch of things that I need to check off, but I haven't put them on the checklist yet to check off. Like
I've literally been working on this for 4.5 months. I not only have my daily checklist, but I also have my boot sequence. So like
that's legit. I feel like Jay, you could like figure out a way to kind of patent this. Tell Justin about this, man. This is the best.
So listen. I realized that it's exactly what Ray Dalio is doing, like with his principles. right? It's just like an audit, like it's a system. Like when you wake up in the morning, it all starts when you wake up in the morning, right? How you start your morning is how you live your day. That's its own truth, dude. If you wake up at 5 a.m., you go running, you do yoga, you come home, you shower, you eat something healthy, you have a coffee, and you sit down at your desk, you are going to own the world. You wake up at noon, stroll over there, like, whatever,
Right.
dude, you're like, you don't even realize what happened. The day left, nothing happened, you didn't learn anything, but it's crazy.
Yeah.
So I've been working on this boot sequence. I've actually been working on this boot sequence for like probably
Almost a year.
It's been a long time. I think it's been
Been a year.
I think it's been like 8, 9, maybe 10 months. But it is intense. It's very long. It has morning questions, power questions. Like, okay, I'll just share it. It's very personal.
Let us in there. Just
Okay.
peel back the curtain, Wizard of Oz. Let's go.
Okay.
Boot sequence.
So here's my boot sequence. I have like the different months down here, like sales notes, my vision board stuff, things I want to learn. The boot sequence, the number one thing for me is if I wake up and I put on shoes and I have a sip of coffee, it completely changes my mindset, right?
Mm-hmm.
If I don't do, it sounds weird, but putting on my shoes completely changes like how I feel. I could just go running outside at any moment. I put myself in a position to make a good decision, right?
That's right. That's
And then
great. That's so smart.
And
Putting on the shoes.
It's so simple. It's
So simple.
My grandma told me that when I was 12 years old. She's like, just wake up in the morning and put on your shoes and you'll have a better day. And I'm like, oh my God, she's so right. Wisdom,
Yeah.
I don't know. Hopefully I don't have anything embarrassing on here.
Make bed. That's like the first thing I do.
Yeah, make bed's a good one. And so these are just, I need to edit this a little bit more because I just kind of like add things as it goes.
Put it more of in like a specific sequence, like order.
For sure. Because I do at the end here, I'll keep going, but this is an interesting one that you guys might not think about, but music actually, think about this. If you're like dancing throughout the day, you are in the best possible mood that you can be in because you feel so good that you're dancing. Play music as often as possible. And I mean music to fit your mood. For like, I'm doing yoga music. If I'm like just cleaning the house, I'll put on something like Bob Seger, because like if you're in a really beautiful state of mind, it's easy to do when you're dancing. Tony Robbins actually talks about this all the time. Have music playing. Dude, because it's all about environment. If you're in an environment that feels good and it's nice to be in, you're gonna be in a better state of mind. It's true. If you're like in the darkness and just like quiet, it's bad.
I did 20 minutes of dancing today.
Wow.
Dude, nice.
That's nuts.
Um,
Just think, it's one of the only things that we can do that activates every part of the brain simultaneously. That has to mean something. Clearly, that's like
something deep and primal with dancing for sure.
yes.
I say I'll do 4 songs, just 4 songs of me standing right there and jumping up and down constantly.
That's great. That's awesome, dude.
This is actually I got from Jack Dorsey, the CEO of Twitter. He asks like, rather than just having a to-do list, you need to have a to-be list. How I want to feel list, So who do you want to be today? Who do you may be known for? How do I want to feel? These morning power questions are actually from David Bayer, right? Because they start getting you in a state of mind where you're like grateful. You start thinking about positive things. And you know what I've realized? This is so tangible because if I don't do stuff like this in the morning, my primal state will take over and I'll think about stressful situation and then I'll just be grumpy thinking about Joel or, all the people that have screwed me over. And I'm just like, ugh. And then I have a worse day. I make one bad decision and I regret it. The next day, it's just like, it's a waterfall. Yeah. And then I don't know if I'm not ready to show that yet, but.
The full tease.
Well, it's kind of like personal because I have just like personal things in there that like I want to overcome in myself,
That's fine.
But yeah, help you become a better person. Anyway.
Yeah, that reminds me of like I used to do this morning formula. Let me see if I can find it because like I'm kind of mad that I stopped using it because it was pretty nice the days that I was using it. But it's kind of like a boot sequence, I guess.
Oh, sorry. The reason I came up with the boot sequence, I got a huge tangent there. The reason I came up with the boot sequence was because I didn't know I would wake up in the morning, and because when you wake up in the morning, you're in a very like primal state, right? it just made it easy for me to go back to, oh, all I have to do is look at this checklist. If I look at that checklist, it puts me on the right path for the day. I put myself in an environment where it's easy. If I don't look at the checklist, what ends up happening is I'll go on Facebook, I'll roll over, go back to bed, do like all these other things. But if I look at that boot sequence and it just reminds me of that mindset that I could be in, I'm like, oh yeah, let's go, you know? And that really, really helps me. Anyway.
Yeah. Checklists are a big thing. I mean, if you look at the airline industry before checklists and the airline industry after checklists, the amount of crashes, it just went down astronomical levels. That's why they still have checklists in the cockpit today.
It's my
I like this.
morning formula. So like, make myself try to read this every morning, but then it goes into the sort of like, you know, I've always wanted to, I don't know if you guys have seen the Six Underground movie.
Yeah.
Like, that's kind of like what I want to be, is like the tech billionaire who's like trying to end corruption in the world.
Oh,
I like it. Oh yeah. Look at that.
Loving it.
All right, Justin, you guys gotta watch.
Dude, no, the baller statue, dude. I love it.
I like the statue for sure, but you guys gotta look at some other videos here and things of what's really going on in like
Corey, how
big
about
time
you?
real
Yeah,
estate.
I could
Corey,
upgrade
you
this a
can put
bit.
together your vision board and show us, Corey.
I'll show you what real estate I'm looking at. When I look
All right.
at real estate, and you'll be like, oh,
Yeah, you need to see some inspiration there.
yeah, I'll get you guys going on that part.
Here's like the you know, the unbreakable contracts that I need to commit to. You know, so kind of the boot sequence: wake up every push day, 5:30 a.m.
Boom,
Meditation, read the formula,
boom.
list the objectives, exercise, 1 hour on my mind, whether it's reading a book, training video, journaling, meditating. You know, every day before I'm done with work, make my list for the next day. Weekly journal, monthly journal, things like that.
Cool.
These sort of principles that I've kind of adapted from.
Dude, I talk about myself like that too, because like, I completely agree with this, because like, I'll put alarms on my phone. It's like, get up, you piece of shit. You know, like I'll talk to myself like it's my higher self talking to my primal self. Like seriously, I think that stuff works. Like trying to have authority over your lower self.
And just the affirmations, ton of them.
This is gold, dude. We need to,
Yeah.
we're gonna put this all together. It's going on the website. It's going on our resources on our website. Boom.
Resources.
Oh yeah.
Okay, that's awesome.
Make sure you get the resources page built out and ready to go.
Cool.
I like it. This has been a great episode.
Oh,
Yeah. Corey, we need to get you doing this stuff. We need to get you doing it.
Yes. I mean, I'm good at emulating. That's my thing. I'm very good at emulating, whether it's emulating somebody's actions, their accent, or looking at stuff that people have done and be like, okay, yeah, I can put that in there. So when the resources part of the website is up, it'll be golden.
You know how we all have like our own limiting beliefs and like perceptions of ourselves, and then like other people have their perceptions of you, right?
Mhm.
And sometimes you can get you get a glimpse of how some other people view you. Corey, you know how I view you, Corey, is I view you as this like sleeping dragon. And when I say sleeping dragon, no, listen, because just genetics alone, right? You have this like brain that is like this untapped potential that you've yet to like really see what it's like capable of doing.
Yeah.
You know?
I would agree.
And I feel like it's because you're just so comfortable, you know? I just feel like, you know, and it's like, it's just because it's like one of your greatest blessing and the greatest curse. You know what I mean? You're just I don't have to use this fucking weapon of mass destruction because I'm chilling. You know, I'm chilling. I got my wife, my baby coming, and my dog, got my awesome apartment, you know, got a lot to look forward to. And you're like, I don't need to try this stuff. I think like you need to find like this. I mean, I think we all do, right? It's like something that like gets you like really excited. Like this podcast.
To light that fire underneath me. That's what it's really gonna take. Yeah.
Justin, the fact that you just shared that with me is just like, I knew we were on the same wavelength, dude. That's literally the exact same thing. Like, do we have a morning routine? That's awesome. We need to be sharing this with people. because doesn't that stuff help you? Like,
Oh yeah.
I imagine where I was like 3-4 years ago. You know what I mean? And like,
Oof.
I never thought that I would be in a mindset like this, where it's like, oh, I can do anything. You know what I mean? It's like, oh my god, like
I
no,
can do anything I put my mind to.
it's like a little work. You know what I mean? This stuff like really helps people. I feel like we need to get Corey on board with all this, because even I feel like Corey is just this like secret weapon that he, you know what I mean? I just feel like you have so much potential, like, and I feel like you never even attempted to tap into it. I feel like because you've just been so chilling. You're just
Yeah.
Unleash the dragon.
Okay, unleash the dragon.
Unleash the
I
dragon.
like it. I like it. Yeah, Jess, I kind of hit the genetic jackpot. I mean, my parents met at Cornell. They're two of, I would say, Ron and Kathy, probably two of the smartest people that I know
That's
in the entire world. It's like not even,
Yeah,
and
I
it's
didn't
like,
know he was like a mathematical genius and
oh, Ron is
scores
just,
on SATs and
oh yeah, dominated, just crush it. And when you see it, I want Ron to like do something in Excel for you, like when he does it live and you're just witnessing it. It's like an artist. It's like he's like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna come up with this model for you real quick. Boop, 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 boop. Okay, and it's just like, that would have took me days and me Googling so many things multiple times, like to figure out how to use that. It's just like,
and not only does he do it like flawlessly, he does it in the most efficient manner, where it's so simple, where it's like
optimal way.
He'll take like 30 seconds, like this is all you need to just for the next 6 months. Just like this little thing I just made. This is
I gotta see.
like, then like you're sitting there thinking about it, you're like, wait, okay, he's playing 4-dimensional chess in like the most casual way.
It's just comes in so naturally.
Dude, I've learned so much from Ron, just from the interactions, just from like his example. He's so effective in like not only his like speaking, his like business acumen, and you're just like, oh my god.
Yeah, that's one thing I'd noticed when I met him for the first time, and just like how efficient he was able to communicate and like, here it is.
Yep, and he lays it out so simple.
You know?
It just lays out so simple, but then at the same time, my favorite is when he does the equations and then he has the equation self-check itself to balance out to 0, and it's like he just makes it. He's like, oh yeah, and I can't be wrong because I'm going to have my equation check itself, and if this doesn't equal 0, it's going to show me this giant error on my screen, and it just like always comes out. And if it comes up with an error, he's like, oh yeah, it's right here. Okay, wait, let me just okay. There we go, balanced out. We're good. All the numbers are right. All my math is correct. I've already checked myself. It's a beauty to watch. When it's
you need to do a little like screen record or something.
Yeah.
Watch it go down in live action.
Yeah, for sure. So.
Yeah.
And even like how Ron handles like stressful situations that like not stressful, complex, like multiple pieces involved. And like whenever I come into a situation like that with like Cryo Next or something like crazy, and like you bring it up to him, he knows the answer within 4 seconds, and it's the most simple, beautiful response, and you're just like, of course.
Why didn't I think of that?
It's like he's a stone oracle, you know? You're just like, oh my god, these nuggets of wisdom.
The clarity.
It's so clear.
Clarity, yeah. Yeah, it reminds me of we have like what we call our godfather of my old fraternity, the chapter advisor. His name is Joel, and he's got that sort of, keep it simple attitude and can just boil down very complex information into like 2 words.
Just distills it. They distill it like into this droplet of just gold.
That skill, Joel. I need that.
Unfortunately. Well, how old is that guy?
He is 85 this year.
See, that's the thing. It's like it takes a long time. It takes a long time. We're in such a different phase in our lives right now where it's hard to even imagine what it's going to be like when 30 years down the road, and how much more knowledge and wisdom and the way that our generation is going to be able to consume all that. And then who knows what's going to happen when we start evolving into cyborgs and we start adding pieces of machinery into our body that is going to allow us. I'm excited.
I just saw an ad yesterday. I didn't know that they had like, you can implant something that connects to, I don't know, people who have sleep apnea, like, and then you just push a button and you just stop snoring. It's like you're ready, like You literally push a button and you go to sleep. Like it's like hitting the off button on the computer.
Whoa,
Yeah.
that sounds sweet.
Yeah, I'm like, what? How is that?
Yeah,
To quote
crazy stuff.
Passed
quote
by
Elon
the FDA and
Elon Musk says we're already cyborgs, right? 'Cause
Well,
think of this.
technically we are.
yeah.
You look at
You
your phone,
just
like,
yeah.
do you ever leave home without it? It's an extension of yourself, like a limbic
Right.
system. You can talk to millions of people with one message, you know, like it literally gives you like superhuman abilities. You know, I went to that Tech conference in San Francisco, and it was
Oh, you
all
went to
about wearable
Transtech?
technology.
I'm
This guy got up on
a
stage.
Transtech member.
Yeah, dude. Are you serious? Dude, I've never connected with so many people at one conference in my entire life. It was the coolest conference I've ever been to. And,
Awesome. Yeah.
everybody had like an Aura ring, an iWatch, like the Pavlov thing, like the thing that analyzes your breath by putting it on your thing. They're developing this thing where you put it on your toilet. This person's going to be like a billionaire. It's the future of healthcare. They put it on your toilet, and it can analyze your pee every day, and it's sync Bluetooth to your phone. And it can even take multiple people's pee and analyze individual people's pee in the same toilet. So like, multiple people go and pee, it's like, oh, this is this person's, because they just know from I don't know how they do it, but it shows you over time, like, oh, you're eating too much of this, or you're not drinking enough water. It just tells you alerts on your phone. They're going to be rich as hell. It's going to be $20. You put on your toilet, and it's going to just, I mean, it's unbelievable.
Right.
Then this guy gets up on stage, starts talking about hearing aids, and you're like, okay, hearing aids, sure, I'll buy into it. Talking for 20 minutes, he's like, oh, and by the way, I've been wearing this hearing aid the entire time, and you have no idea. And what I'm able to do this hearing aid is I can listen to a whisper from 300 feet away. Not only that, it does everything your iWatch can do. You can talk to Alexa, you can talk to Siri. It actually has a thing built in for old people that if they fall over, it knows that you collapsed, analyzes your heart rate, sends GPS signal to
The 911
saves your life. Like it gives you superhuman hearing. Like the amount of things that it just analyzes your heartbeat, your like all these different things, and you're just like, and it's just this little thing in your ear. And you're just like, you can't even see it. He's like, no, there's superhuman abilities. It's insane. Anyway.
Yeah, there's a ton of that. That's why I'm like so intrigued by the Future is Everything book, because like all these companies doing some transformative things, and I just want to get in on the action as soon as possible.
Yeah, for sure.
It's moving fast.
Yeah.
I know. I see like all these tech things, even like cryotherapy. It kind of like helps me to envision this future of humanity. And when I kind of look at it like The Sims, like, oh, you just give this thing, you know, oh, I'm good to go for the day. You know, you walk out, you know, like I see it in this, and it's completely different than how everyone's viewed humanity for like since the beginning of time. You know, it's like we're really coming into like an age where people are, I hate to bring this up, like we're kind of like becoming aware that we're like what we're sort of like in, you know. I'm not ready to talk about that yet, but like
simulation.
Yeah, probably like simulation stuff, like right, like imagine that you did create. I'm sorry to get into this, Corey, but like imagine that you got.
I love it.
Imagine that we turned on the computer, right? Turn on the computer, like imagine an old TV, just like, you know, that's the Big Bang to us, right? Little thing inside. Evolution needed to happen on a scale that was like relative to us. And you're just coming into an age where we're kind of like aware of it, right? We're like becoming conscious of it, like our consciousness, like we're becoming more awake. And we're kind of, at some point, I mean, to me, it seems like at 100 years in the future, everyone's gonna know like that we're in a simulation. That's like how it looks like the path, like the leaders, like the intellectual leaders of today are like, guys, it's happening, but they can't convince all the old people until they die off. Like that's where we're headed. Do you know what Ron said to me the other day? When I was at Ron's house, he was just like, he's like, somebody press the pause button, you know? I'm like, yeah, because like we're in a simulation. He's like, yep. Like he was just like so casual about it. I was like, kind of like as a joke. I said it kind of.
You like knew it for 30 years or something.
Yeah, it's so obvious to Ron, but like it's so taboo to some people. Like if you really just go out and talk about it on my Facebook, you get so much hate. I'm coming to the point though in my life where like I just don't care. You know, I still you know why I don't care? Because it seems like all the people that like I respect their opinion about the nature of reality, they all agree with me. I feel like most people, I've been about simulation theory for like 8 years. I remember bringing it up to my friends like at somebody's wedding, and they all looked at me like I was stone batshit crazy.
Yeah, I remember bringing it up in 2010, freshman year of college, and everybody just it was insane.
How can you not even play with the idea? Like you're playing with all these other crazy ass ideas that make no sense. This makes so much more sense. Even though I had like arguments, like this is like one of the best arguments to me for simulation theory is it's the only concept. Like imagine that there's a range of concepts of like that we are able to conceive for the nature of reality, right? Let's say Christianity is 5%, Buddhism 5%, whatever. We're in a simulation is a small percentage. Take the entire spectrum. Simulation theory is the only theory of our existence that increases in probability every day, right? It's the only one that's slowly growing. It doesn't matter if it takes 10,000 years, like, 50,000 years, because Moore's law doubles every year. And now we're like coming up to quantum computing where it's like, it's about to take off.
Rose law.
Yeah. Think about that for a second. So it's been the same, the chances of Christianity being true, or that, all these other things, like, it's interesting.
Shrinking more and more. Shrinking.
It's shrinking, and like, because it makes sense.
If all those things are a total of a sum, if one part is shrinking, that means another part is growing. So,
I also think that something that's going to happen is we're going to blend. People are going to start to make sense of religion and technology into one. I think it's going to start coming together, because there's no necessary case that they both can't be intertwined, right? Because imagine that
spirituality are gonna.
It's going to combine, right? Like that's kind of what Transcendental was about. Because crazy talk, let's just imagine that we are in like a simulation, like we are in some sort of AI that's just like running a simulation of us. And whatever we're worshiping, whatever Buddha, God, whatever it is, that entity, what if it's the AI and you're just like, thank you. And it's like, and it's happy when you're, the AI gets like, yeah, you're welcome. You know what I mean? It's because it's like a living creature that's just like, keeping us alive, whatever it may be. I think about that. Sorry to just run with this.
This is great.
The idea that Ray Kurzweil says we're going to upload our brains to a computer in like, 20 years. I think about that, and I read Nick Bostrom's book, Superintelligence, which is he basically invented simulation theory. I don't know if you knew this or not, but he basically talks about if we did upload our brains to a computer, what would that look like? Because we wouldn't really just have, if you upload my brain to a computer, it couldn't just live without sleeping, eating, our brains aren't made to live in a computer where it doesn't have a physical body, right? So how would you exist inside of the computer? It would kind of, and the concept, the idea is you'd have to live out a life, because that's how your brain was designed to live. So literally you would live in a world like we exist, live and die over and over and over, because that's the only way your brain would be able to survive or inside of a computer. Does that make sense? Because our brains aren't made. Are you following me on that?
You're saying like the same person living and dying?
So, dude, I don't know the answer to that question. All I'm saying is that our brains aren't designed to live how like a computer program necessarily, where it's just infinite, immortal, like I'm immortal and I'm running around. No, our brains were designed to
have a cycle
and like live and breathe and eat and sleep. And so we'd have to perceive reality that way for our brains to even like work. So like it would kind of be like our reality, where it's like, oh, you live and die, and then you wouldn't know, but that's just the only way you could exist, and you technically live forever. Who knows? But that's an interesting.
You guys ever like play around with the idea of deja vu? And,
Okay, this is something super interesting to me. I have never experienced it, and like therefore I cannot believe when somebody tells me this. I'm like, okay, there's like a mutation in your brain. Something happened. Like something was wrong with your brain. Something electronically happened in your brain where something went wrong. So like,
yeah.
Tell me your thoughts about this, Justin. I've never experienced it. I've never believed anybody who's telling me like I'm experiencing it right now. I'm like, okay, great. Tell me everything in detail, and I just cannot get behind this.
It's hard to do it in detail.
It's a thing.
It's more of a feeling, and like, oh
yeah,
wow,
like,
I've
something about the way you said that, or the way everything, the light is hitting. Like, I feel like I've been here before. I've done the exact same thing happen.
Yeah, I want to experience it. I want to like for this to be a real thing, and it's just like just because I've never experienced it, I like can't. I just like I just don't have this belief in it. I don't know. It's this weird thing.
Justin, how many times do you think you've had deja vu in your life?
Honestly, I had it earlier today. Like on this call, like when Rhami was here. Yeah, like it was just brief, and it was like, eh. But now I just kind of like, toss it to the side, like I'm aware of it, and then I just kind of move on. Remember the first time it happened to me though, it was like I must have been in like fourth grade, elementary school.
Wow.
I remember going to like an amusement park with a friend and like his family, and then like afterwards we like drove up to like the McDonald's drive-through, and then for some reason like the way everybody ordered everything and like the truck that I was in, I was like, I feel like I've done this exact same thing, and like that was the first time I've ever first and only time I've went to the amusement park with that friend's family. And so it was weird to feel like that sort of sense that it's already happened before.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Jay, you get this?
I've had a couple. I mean, I would say I can only remember like 2, maybe 3 times. Just driving down the road, like in Vegas, I'm like, what is happening? I've done this before. It was a road I've never driven on. I would just be like, why?
I feel like I may have been in the car with you when this happened.
I think you might have been to my right side when this happened.
Yes, I feel like we were in that GMC, and you picked me up outside of some casino, and we went to the house where
I remember the road. I remember it very clearly.
And you were like, "Man, this seems so familiar," and I'm like, "What the hell is going on right
I
now?"
think that's the weird thing.
Yeah.
Like feels so familiar, but you also know that there's no way it could have happened before.
And then I remember Corey bringing it up, and we actually looked it up, Corey. I'm remembering now, and when we Googled it, we saw that it's just like the way that we think it happens, because no one really knows the answer of what it is, and like as it is that it's like a misfiring synapse in your brain, right? And I was like, well, that's kind of a weird explanation. Like, they don't know. That's just like that's what they assume it is, or maybe that's what they want to tell you, because you don't want you to think that.
Well, they don't want you to know that it's really the parallel universe is actually kind of intersecting at that one point at the same time in a different universe. They don't want you to know
and
that.
And tapping in the same brain wavelength.
That'd be intense, yeah.
Because that's what's really going
parallel
on.
Overlapping.
Yeah, a little parallel universe overlapping. That's what it is. So they don't want you
to
give you the secret sauce.
Intersecting universe.
Intersecting universes. Because think of it, if it happens that many times, there should be times where it could be exactly the same in those universes. It should at least on some level be or very close. So close that that's where the confusion comes in. It's like, I've been here before, I haven't been here before, and it's you dancing on that line of you crossing over where you're really close in those universes. And that's
honestly, I like that explanation a lot better than what I always thought. Like, oh, I must have been reincarnated and like live and repeat the same life or whatever. And
no, it's just you in another universe.
Yeah.
And you're just on that same wavelength and sharing that moment in multiple places at the same time. Because if there are things on a subatomic level that can be both things at the same time, why wouldn't our thoughts and brave wavelengths be like that? And if they can somehow tune into each other for just that
neutrinos, quarks, those the quantum particles.
Oh yeah, a strange charm, up charm,
2 places at one time. And
yes, and can teleport essentially to
probably
any distance
between different universes.
Yeah, and they're just bumping in each other. Oh shit! Get out. Okay, whoops. That's what it is. A little glitch in the Matrix. That's why they explain it like that in the Matrix. I've always loved that explanation.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just a glitch in the Matrix. Don't worry about it.
I've got to bring this up, guys. I watched an Eric Weinstein video with Tom Bulio.
Impact Theory.
Yeah, I actually don't like him that much, but I mean,
the guy seems okay. It seemed okay during the Ray Dalio interview.
I actually didn't know Tom Bilyeu. He created the Quest bars. And how
Oh.
the story, yeah, I read the story behind it. Really interesting, very motivational. Like, dude, we could do that for sure. But Google this. This video to start. Just watch the first 15 minutes because it explains. It explains.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Good old Ty Lopez.
Yeah, I'll come over him. Watch the first video of this with Eric Weinstein.
Everybody.
Because they dive into something talking about what Eric Weinstein, his podcast is called The Portal. And the reason it's called The Portal, I'm telling you guys after we hang up, watch the beginning of this podcast. The rest kind of sucks, but after they talk about, when I get to this, he explains this feeling that I've been having is that as you like get older and see the world from a different perspective, it's kind of like something gets removed from like your vision, right? It's like there's a cloak over like what you see and how you view the world. And as you learn more, that fades away and you see something completely different. And he calls this podcast The Portal because like as you listen to him talk and like his perception of the world, you kind of start to see it in a different way, right? And I was having this epiphany before I saw this, but somebody finally explained it to me in a way where I see like it's like I step through a portal. I'm looking at a different world, if that makes sense, right?
Mm.
And there's a bunch of different ways to look at it. So it's hard for me. I really don't have it quite grasped just yet, but get back to me, Juan. We'll talk about it on the next podcast. Sure.
Okay, what was the guy's name?
Eric Weinstein.
Yep.
And Tom.
Okay, I found it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it the 2-hour video or the 10-minute video?
It's the one that's like 2 hours, but it's like in the first 20 minutes or something.
Power of Knowledge. It's like the little thumbnail.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah, that kind of blew my mind.
That one and Principles.
It's such because it's such like a vulnerable thing to talk about that I don't really want to like dive into it just yet. But
What?
how I've like viewed the world for so long, and then it's embarrassing. You know what I mean? It's like kind of like embarrassing like how I view the world, and like you kind of like open your eyes to it's like the bigger picture, and you're just like, of course, like
Why would it be embarrassing? It's probably just human nature. I bet a lot of people just, it's probably a way a lot of people think about the world. And then there's probably, just think, if there's that many people out there thinking like that, there's probably equally that many people thinking something completely different. That's probably way more cloaked and like, closed off and closed minded. My example is like people who are like very super religious. Just think of how tiny and small and like, how they perceive the world is. Not everybody's like that, but I feel like if you think that Jesus died and then 3 days later ascended to heaven, like you think that a physical person on this earth, like that happened to them, that to me, I just feel that those people's worlds must be so tiny and so small, and the wool has been pulled so far over their eyes. I could be completely wrong, who knows? But for me, what I'm going to go with is science. Have you ever heard of anybody dying and then coming back again? Doesn't seem like it's happened before. And, how could it happen back then? Well,
I'm worried that what I'm experiencing, like right now, like the last like year or two, is like me just tapping into more being more aware, like me being like more conscious, if that makes sense. Like
yes.
When we brought in when we started talking about like we are the AI kind of a thing, and then it's like me just, if I'm an AI, I'm becoming more self-aware, kind of like how an AI would, and I'm just it makes me
learning.
It makes me like double down on that idea, and I'm just like, oh my god. It's like I've been blind to so many things, and like now that it's intense.
It's just scary to think that for over 30 years in your life, you lived this whole other way in what you essentially would call the dark.
Yeah, that's exactly right. But what's really cool about it is, I'm like, I didn't know that this was like possible. And it gets me so excited about life, and which is really nice because right now it's so depressing with the pandemic and all this stuff. But I'm like opening my mind to all those other things, and I'm like, if this is the case, then who knows what kind of portals you can like walk through, you know? I'm like,
Sure.
oh
Sure. Yeah. Justin, completely a little bit out there, off topic, a little personal. Are you a pretty religious person or?
No,
Okay.
not pretty religious.
Okay.
I have that read the Bible thing on my morning formula, but I don't really,
You're not taking it literally.
Right.
You're taking the concepts of just be a good person, be nice to people. Hey.
Yeah, I mean, I've read the Bible. I've dabbled in like Taoism and Confucianism.
But would you define yourself as spiritual?
Define myself as spiritual for sure.
Okay, great.
That's how I define myself. You know, when people say, "Am I religious?" I'm like, no, but I'm spiritual.
The religion is coming for simulation theory for sure. I feel like the religion is it's got to, right? There's actually somebody at Google. They left Google and started like a religion based around simulation theory. I don't know exactly the details, but I think that it's going to be something that we really experience over the next 50 years. Especially as
we got to tax benefits. Things like that.
It's the next Scientology, just simulation.
Scientology.
Actually, was watching something with Shauna yesterday about the Scientology. It was a documentary on, I think, HBO. It was incredible. I mean, I watched a bunch of them and stuff, but it's just like,
Katie watched
crazy.
Were they getting like actors to play Miscavige and Tom Cruise?
I feel like I think I've seen that one, and then I saw this other one that was like, no, it had real footage of.
Oh, you're talking. So you're talking
Hubbard.
Going Clear.
I think yeah.
That's the best documentary on Scientology by far.
I gotta check it out. I remember dabbling a little bit in Scientology.
Oh my god, you get your mind blown. You know HBO had to hire like 100+ lawyers to defend against the onslaught of Scientology just before they released that Going Clear documentary. Because they knew that they would just be attacked, and so they hired like all these crazy lawyers to prevent the onslaught. Dude, Scientology is scary. Yeah. They took 10 years and infiltrated the IRS. All their people just started working there until they had enough influence inside where they could claim themselves as a tax-exempt religious organization. They just said, yeah, and they save billions of dollars every year because they just infected the IRS. That's insane.
It's the lengths at which it delves and the tentacles that it has, it goes so deep.
Yeah, and you watch all the people that used to be in Scientology and then they leave. Like, there's a lot of Joe Rogan. Like, for example, what's her name? This chick who's a famous actress. She left. She goes on Joe Rogan and talks about John Travolta. John Travolta is what they call, I forget the name. It's like a kira, right? Which is basically means he has the authority to walk in a room and kill someone. He makes a phone call and it goes away. So like he's so high up in Scientology that like he literally can kill someone and a team of people just show up, no questions asked, they take care of it, and it's done.
Just the real life, the wolf.
Like John Wick.
This is like legit. This is like not bullshit. This is like a real thing in Scientology. I actually watched this. There's another one where Russell Brand talks to Joe Rogan about this. Did you know Tom Cruise, when he goes to like any movie and he would go shoot his movies, he has an entourage of 30 servants. They're like 30 servants where if he wants anything, they need to respond to him with absolute obedience and immediately with no hesitation. Otherwise, they disappear. So like, for instance, like he goes, I need a cup of coffee, 6 day, iced cup, whatever. And they immediately go and do it. They're gone. Right. And then that's his entourage. He just rolls around with that. Think about that for a second. The power that's involved. And the entire Scientology, it's all based on blackmail. Like they do these like audits. Oh no, it says my connection's unstable. They do these audits until they get information out of you. And the more information that you give, the higher you'll go up because the more leverage they have over you in the organization. So they'll let you climb and learn things because if you escape, they're like, oh, we'll ruin your life. And rumor has it, rumor has it is that Tom Cruise and like John Travolta are so high up there because they're gay and like they could ruin their career and their lives. And so like that's why they're stuck in it and they can't escape because they have some sort of recording, or something where it's like
probably some big orgy,
Yeah, no, seriously, no, and that's literally the reason why Tom Cruise is like has to give 10% of his entire net worth every year to Scientology, and like because there's blackmail.
Damn.
Would
It's-
make sense.
It's the most intense.
Gotta check out that documentary.
Oh yeah.
It gets wild.
Prison of Belief.
Yes,
Yeah.
wild. Yeah, crazy.
Yikes.
Okay, guys. I think this podcast. We'll probably end up doing a little segment where we'll just block out and do like post meeting.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good chat. We'll.
What should we choose for the topic of the next Waiting for Ron podcast as just like an umbrella?
You mean this one?
Well, this one kind of took its own thing. What's the next topic we want to get into?
I kind of just like letting it go organically.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Jump in and
In
start
fact,
talking.
all three of us just like throughout the day, if you come up with an idea that you want to talk about, you see something, write it down on your phone, and we'll just share it on the next podcast.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. We'll
And if
just
you
let it take.
Little note down.
And if you think of somebody like you want to invite, we'll just give them a call. You know, see
Yeah.
if we'll get them on the line.
I like it. I like it.
All right, guys, we'll be in touch.
Cool.
Excellent.
All
All
right.
right. We'll see you. Have a good weekend.
Justin, send this to me.
We'll do. It'll probably take a little longer to download.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
All right, later, guys.
Bye.
Peace.